Hey everyone, it's Zahava. Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we are going to be doing a get to know my reading taste tag. It is the first official video in front of our new bookish background. I hope you guys like it. I'm trying to keep everything in frame as much as I can, so let me know what you guys think of it. This camera angle is actually zoomed in at 1.5 because I didn't want to get too much of the outside borders, but if that doesn't bother you, then it doesn't bother me. So we'll see how we go about it going forward. But for today, I wanted to go through the Get to Know My Taste tag, which originated with My Name is Marinez, whose channel I will link below. And I think she had a partner in crime by the name of Sam. So I will give you that information in the description below, but I actually got this idea from Chess of Chess's Book Nook. So I am jumping on the bandwagon and we are going to get to know my reading tastes today. So there is a series of 15 questions for this tag, and I'll read them out to you, put them across the screen, and then we'll just sort of get right into it. The first question that we have is, how do you rate books? So I usually use a star rating system, and then very occasionally I will not rate a book if I'm in my feels about it after I finish reading it, or if for some reason I just can't put my words to my feelings, or if I really hated it and I don't really have anything nice to say, I may not necessarily rate the book. I also have my own particular star rating levels, because I know that star rating levels can differ widely between creators and readers. My particular star level ratings, I'll put them here across the screen for you guys, are as follows. If a book has me absolutely in my feels, if I laughed, if I cried, if I was all over the map, that will get, if I find that the book is extremely memorable, that will get for me a 5-star reading. If I had a really good time in the book, if I think that I would recommend it, that other people would enjoy it, if it's something that I feel deserves a spot on my library, but it didn't quite hit that 5-star mark, then for me, that will be a 4-star read. A 3-star read is a book that I really liked. I really enjoyed while I was in it, but it is also a book that I would feel absolutely no qualms about unhauling whenever necessary. A 2-star book is just meh for me. There's really nothing else to say about that. It didn't capture my attention. It didn't do what it was promised. It was just didn't live up to the hype. It was just meh. And then a 1-star book for me would be an absolute disappointment, something that I actively DNF'd as I was reading it, that I would never recommend to anybody, that I think is trash. And yeah, if I give it a 1-star, it's because it was like really bad. Question number 2 is, how do you approach reviewing books? Are you critical? Are you subjective? Are you moody? Are you emotional? All those questions. And for me, it's actually going to be a combination effect, which I'm sure if you've been watching this channel for quite some time, you probably have come to expect. Initially, I think that I will react emotionally to a book, and then with a critical lens. So I will usually start with how the book made me feel, and then I'll look back to the text for examples, and then I will sort of back up my feelings based on the examples that are coming from the original text. Like if I'm sad, happy, confused, or what have you, I'll look back to the text and I'll say what instances in that text made me feel that way, and then like a really good English lit student, I will base my reviews and arguments on those points. Question number 3 is, what's the book that made you a reader? And for me, it's not necessarily a book so much as it is a genre. So if you've been here before, you probably will have remembered me having talked about this on the channel, but it is definitely the YA horror that would have been written for adolescents aged 9 to 12 that were primarily the Fear Street series by R.L. Stine, and the, I don't know if there was a name of the series, but all of the young adult horror novels that Christopher Pike was writing back in the 90s. And I would say that those are the books that really influenced me as a reader. Those were the books that were easy to collect. They looked really good on the shelves, and I even had some scenes that I still remember 30 years after reading them, which is this one Christopher Pike book, which I can't remember the title of the book. So if you guys know which book I'm talking about, please write it below in the comments. But I just remember that it took place in a high school, and there was a girl who was locked in the school showers, and somebody turned on the water really hot, and essentially she was just boiled to death. So, and this is something that has stuck with me throughout my entire life since I read that book. Probably I was in like the 6th grade or something, and I never forgot it. So that definitely had a huge influence on me. And if you guys have seen my horror books are boring, change my mind video, which if you haven't, I'll either leave in an info card or I will link to down below in the description. But basically those books, like the Christopher Pike book that I just mentioned, that's a book that would have scared me when I was little. And you know, I just don't find that horror books are like hitting me the same way as an adult. Question number 4, do you have a genre niche? Do I have a genre niche? Probably yes. I mean, I would say that I gravitate mostly towards fantasy, and then sort of every other niche kind of falls into the same category level, like science fiction, horror, lit fic. I don't read graphic novels because for some reason I find graphic novels very stressful. It's like it's asking me to make sense of the text and also the pictures, which is just too much for my brain. But aside from that, yeah, I would say that fantasy is my preferred genre. Like, I will read other genres and possibly enjoy them very, very much. I know that at some point in the early 2000s, I was reading a lot of Oprah's book club, but I find that lit fic in general, unless it's like a super moving or has like exceptional prose, tends to fall a little flat for me. Some examples of lit fic DNFs that I can think about, All the Colors of the Dark is the one that comes to mind. And then also I read, like I said, a lot of Oprah's book club in the early 2000s, so there were definitely some that stuck with me, but I read Beloved, I read She's Come Undone. I read them. All I can tell you is that I read them. Were they memorable? Not necessarily. So for me, fantasy would be my primary genre. Then I would say I like science fiction, and then probably horror, if I can still find some horror, because it's all within the realm of the imaginative and the paranormal, and that's usually where I find my like biggest comfort zone. But I generally have the best time in a well-written fantasy book. Question number 5, do you prefer character-driven or plot-driven stories? And I would say that it depends. It really depends on my mood. Like, if I'm frustrated and I'm failing at life, then I definitely want to be reaching for a plot-driven story so that the fruit is hanging pretty low and the chances of success of finishing the book are pretty high. When you have a plot-driven novel, you tend to flip the pages a little more if it's well written, you know, with the caveat that it's well written. When it's plot driven, the story kind of moves itself forward. But if I'm in my feels, I'm gonna go for something that's more character driven, because I definitely want to be reading about somebody whose life is going a lot worse than mine. I really want that person to suffer like I do. Question number 6, what is a book that you love so much that you don't care if other people don't like it? So for me, it's not a book, it's a series. You probably have seen this one coming, but it is LifeShip. It is LifeShip Traders. If you guys don't like this series, you're reading it wrong. Question number 7. What is a book that you love so much that if someone else doesn't like it, you know that your reading tastes do not align? So for me, it's going to be Wild Dark Shore. And perhaps there's some recency bias behind this, but I really like the tone, the symbolism, the soundtrack. Yes, I said it, the soundtrack, because when you are reading this book, you can constantly hear wave sounds in the background. It doesn't matter whether you're indoors, outdoors. It's got a kind of eerie, very mysterious type feel to the novel, and yeah, it definitely has a soundtrack that plays in the back of your mind as you're reading, which I think is super duper cool. And I also love that it wraps everything up really nicely in a nice, neat, tight little bow, and that really, really does it for me. Question number 8 is, what is in your trash pocket? So these would be books or tropes or things that you can't help but like, even if other people don't like them. And for me, I don't know if I honestly have an answer for this question, because I've never really thought about it when it comes to books. Because basically, if a book is bad and something kind of niggles at me about it, I just tend to DNF it. I don't really consume it or secretly hoard it away or secretly love it. What I can answer this question with is I could actually give you a trash movie, and that would be Showgirls. Question number 9, do you have any deal breakers in books? Yes, I do. I have quite a few actually. So the first one is if it's juvenile writing in a book that is intended for an adult audience. That's like a huge pet peeve of mine. Bad editing is another one. Incomprehensible prose. Like when an author should have spent a couple of more sentences, a couple of more pages, a couple of more paragraphs just fully fleshing out their idea, and they decide not to do it for whatever reason, and then it ends up with very confusing prose or ideas that are missing, or it's too demanding of me to try and string things together. That's another pet peeve. Like, if the author doesn't know enough about what they're doing to make it clear to the audience, then I don't know, that's something that I just can't forgive. Like, there's one book that I read that was very sad because it was an indie published book, and it actually had a dedication to me inside, and I couldn't get past page 4 because the prose was not adult. It was not adult, despite the fact that it was a book that was aimed at adults. It said that one of the girls got mad, or she was worried that one of her friends was going to get mad at her, or something along those lines. And just the pairing of those words together, get mad, like, who talks like that? We're not 9. Why are you trying to sell me this book? So that book, even despite its dedication to me, I actually gave it to a thrift store because I could not get past the 4th page of that book. It was just like the prose and writing was very bad, very bad. Question number 10, what is a strong opinion that you have about a book that has been released within the last year? And for me, it's going to be that Wild Dark Shore was absolutely mismarketed and misinterpreted. And I feel like because it has been sort of touted as a mystery thriller, when really all it is a lit fic with mysterious elements, I think that that's kind of hurting the reception of the book. And if you guys want to hear more of my thoughts regarding this topic, I will leave a link in an info card or down below in the description so you guys can go check out my video essay on this novel. Question number 11, what makes a book stand out to you, or what do you look for in writing? I'm an adult and I want to be treated like one. Don't dumb things down, make your prose accessible, stir my emotions, make it gritty, make it count. If I'm giving you my time, make good use of it because I can never get it back. If I find myself slowing down, devouring, reading every single word on the page, that's a really good sign. If I don't feel the need to skip paragraphs or pages, then I know that you've got me. I want to be seduced by the writer, not in a sexual way. I want you to seduce my brain. That's how they get my heart. I want them to say to me through their words, I want you, I want only you, and I want you to pay attention to me. I want to go steady, okay? Okay. And also have some sex, have lots of sex. Sex is fun. It doesn't have to be steamy, it has to feel natural. Not like someone's writing a sex scene in order to hit a particular word count. Sex in books should feel like it writes itself, not like it needs lube. I said it. Question number 12, how do you decide what to read next? Do you plan ahead? Are you a mood reader? All those things. And for me, it's both. Lately, I've been having a really good time with my TBR teapot, subscribe for more. But seriously, once I get a couple of good ones done, then I tend to become more of a mood reader. So if I'm having trouble deciding what to read, I start off with my TBR teapot. It helps me to get some books that I'm not likely to necessarily have chosen as a priority into the reading queue. Then if I get either some successes or maybe even some DNFs, which I also consider to be somewhat of a success because it means that they're off of the physical TBR and I can decide if I'm going to give those away or whatever I'm going to do with them, but at least I know that they're no longer on the physical TBR. So the TBR teapot is really helping me with that. And then after that, if I have some successes or I just seem to knock some books off the list, at that point I may become more of a mood reader. Mostly when I come to DNFs, I end up becoming a mood reader after the fact because I just need something that's going to pick me up from wherever that reading prompt has left me. Question number 13, where do you get inspiration for your BookTube content? And I would say that generally that is coming from other creators. When I do reading tags, when I do list videos, sometimes also when they're doing vlogs, and I just try and sort of copy what I think other people might like to see my take on, if that makes sense. But then there's also an element where I'm just struggling with my own challenges as a reader. So sometimes it could also just come from my own personal struggles and that I just kind of want to document in the hopes that I might reach out to even somebody else who's going through something similar and they might want to not feel so alone. So I think that by sharing my story, it could help connect someone to somebody else who is, in this case, me, who might feel the same way as they do. And then we're sort of just bringing people together and we're not feeling so alone. God, the airplanes are coming in like every 30 seconds, you guys. If you can hear them in the background, I'm so sorry. I've tried to edit them out, but I can't compete. I can't compete. Okay, question number 14. If you could make a book go viral right now, which book would that be? I actually have two answers for this question. I have them right here next to me. So the first book I want to talk to you about is Storyteller by Amy Thompson. Now, I haven't read this book in like 20 plus years, so bear with me when I tell you a little bit about the intro, but basically she is a space explorer and she is trying to unalive herself when we meet her by crashing her spaceship into the closest planet that she feels that she can just sort of plummet down to. And in the end, what happens is she ends up in a body of water and she gets rescued by this creature on the cover, which is kind of a sentient mammalian type of creature, but also it's kind of like a whale, but it has this like wing on it. I don't know, they call it a harzle in the novel. And it's just like a really interesting story about how she's sort of destitute and she's given up on life. And then she ends up on this planet where there's this like civilization and they kind of like, I guess it is a trope where she's kind of turned around, but it's just the writing and the way that the story is told, which is just fantastic. And I don't know that there are any copies of this that are being currently published or reprinted, but I know that you could still find some used copies here and there. So if I could make a book go viral, this would be one of the two. The second one that if I could make this book go viral, I would highly suggest you guys go pick it up because I know that Book Outlet has this one currently in their discount aisle, which I think is such a shame. But if you guys do decide to go pick it up, please use my link in the description down below because you'll get like a coupon code, and if you use that code, it's good in the US and Canada. I will also get a reward for that. So it's a way for you to support the channel, but please go and pick up The Man Who Sold Air in the Holy Land. I cannot talk to you guys about this book enough. What you have have here are 11 short stories that are kind of, I want to say, like fantastical, a bit of magical realism, a bit of lit fic. It's slice of life vignettes that are going to take you into some characters, into their very dark places where they're making confessions about things that normally we would try to hide. And I just think that it is a book that is great for any mood. Not every story is a 5-star story, but I would say that they're in the 4 to 5-star range, including some 4.5-star stories. But overall, the book is a 5-star read, and it doesn't have a nice cover. It has a pretty ugly cover, which I do not think has been doing it justice. I think that this cover is probably the reason why it hasn't sold. But the writing in this book is incredible. Like, I cannot stress this enough. I want you to click on the link down below, the book outlet link for the coupon that I have. If you use it, you can get this book, which I think is $7.99 Canadian, so it's probably $5.99 US. Let me tell you, it will be the best money that you have spent to add to your library in a really, really long time. So if I could make a book go viral, we are looking at these two right here. Question number 15. Who are some booktubers with tastes that are similar to yours? So like, I don't know. I think we all kind of have different book tastes in general. Some people that I would say that are similar to mine would be Bookish Dad Reads, Fina Reads. There is Angela from the Literature Science Alliance, Penny the Paperback Cat, Chess from Chess's Book Nook. These are people that come to mind. But I think it's more interesting to talk about the booktubers whose tastes are vastly different than yours. So even though we're kind of deviating from the original tag here, I do want to mention a couple of booktubers who I've talked about before on this channel, whose opinions on books or just their general style is very, very different from my own. So I want to talk about Emily from Books with Emily Fox, who tends to disagree with my opinions on everything, or maybe I disagree with hers. We also have like a very different reading taste. She reads a lot of lit fic, a lot of feminist books, a lot of really important nonfiction topics that can really spark deep discussion. I have a great respect for her. I love her content, and I watch her because what she reads is so different from what I read. We do have some books in common on our bookshelves, and generally speaking, when she rates something very low, I tend to rate it much higher, and vice versa. So that, I think, is interesting and should be pointed out. Basically, the only thing that Emily and I have in common is that we live in the same province. And then the second booktuber I want to mention, whose tastes and vibe and aesthetic and everything are very much the opposite of my own, is Lachlan from Locke's Library. Again, I will leave links to these booktubers down below for you to go check out. These are people I subscribe to that I very much enjoy their content, in spite of, or perhaps because of, the fact that it is so vastly different than what I am putting out here. And you know, yeah, I mean, Lachlan, if you're watching this, Emily, if you're watching this, I am super jealous of the two of you. So let me just put it out there. I'm so happy for you guys and for all of your success. I really enjoy your content, and I just hope that other people will, if they don't know you, click on these links and find your channels as well. But as I said, everybody that I mentioned here, I will link to their channels down below. And yeah, I love them because our content is similar, and also because our content is so different, so different. The last thing to do is to tag some other booktubers who I think it would be fun to see do this book tag. Obviously, I'm not going to tag Chess of Chess's Book Nook, who I would normally tag, but she's the one that kind of inspired me to do this tag, so I'm gonna have to find some other people to tag. But yes, thank you so much for being here today and for checking out this Get to Know My Taste tag with me. I hope you guys had fun. Let me know in the comments, do we have similar tastes? How are we different? Please engage, and I would love to have a discussion with you around these topics. Thank you so much again for being here. Please remember to like and subscribe and check out the links that I will leave for you in the description down below, and I will see you again in the next video. Ciao for now.